Gold is not loyal to the loud, it kneels to the disciplined. In a world obsessed with fast money and highlight reels, a world that screams for instant gratification and parades fleeting gains, there's an ancient rhythm that built empires quietly, stone by deliberate stone. This rhythm beats in the heart of true prosperity, a cadence often drowned out by the cacophony of get-rich-quick schemes and the hollow echo of superficial success. It whispers of patience, of understanding, of a profound alignment with forces greater than fleeting desire. You were never meant to chase wealth, to scramble for its fleeting shadows like a desperate pauper. No, you were meant to command it, patiently, deliberately, wisely. To understand its nature, its flow, its profound responsibilities. Wealth, in its truest form, is not a wild beast to be hunted, but a powerful current to be understood and navigated with skill and respect. It responds not to frantic pursuit but to the steady hand of wisdom, the unwavering gaze of purpose, and the quiet strength of character. Today, I will give you the 10 ancient laws of true wealth, principles etched into the very fabric of enduring prosperity, laws that have governed the accumulation and preservation of fortunes for millennia. And then, I will reveal the hidden 11th law, a truth so fundamental yet so often overlooked, that it forms the very cornerstone of a life not just rich in coin, but rich in meaning. These are not tips, they are not fleeting suggestions or fashionable hacks. They are principles, immutable and unyielding. Break them, and life, in its own inexorable way, will break you back. Listen closely, for the whispers of ages are about to speak. Consider the tale of a young mason, his hands calloused from toil, his brow furrowed with the daily struggle. Each sunrise saw him lay stones for others building monuments and homes, yet his own pockets remained perpetually light. His future an unwritten page he dared not gaze upon. He gave his strength, his skill, his precious time to the world, and the world in its insatiable hunger consumed it all, leaving little for the man who would one day become old for the dreams that flickered faintly within his heart. He was a conduit for value, yet none of it seemed to stick to him, flowing through him, to enrich others. One evening, an elder artisan, observing the young man's weary diligence and perpetual lack, shared a simple yet profound truth. "You build for others," he said, his voice a gentle rasp, "but who builds for you, for the man you will be tomorrow in 10 years, in 30? The young mason pondered this, the words echoing in the quiet workshop. Amidst the scent of stone dust and sweat, he realized he was serving every demand, every creditor, every fleeting desire before he served the most important creditor of all, his future self. The world would always present its bill, always extend its hand for payment. The next morning, before any coin left his purse for bread, for tools, or for taxes, the mason took a small, deliberate portion, a tenth, the elder had suggested, and set it aside. Not as a saving against a rainy day, but as a payment, a tribute to the man he was striving to become. It felt alien at first, almost selfish in a world that demanded so much. Yet, as the weeks turned into months, this small act of self-allegiance began to reshape his reality. That reserved portion, his first fruit, became the seed of his own foundation, a testament to his burgeoning self-respect. This is the first law, the cornerstone upon which all financial citadels are built. If you do not plant seed for yourself, you will beg during harvest. The world will always make its claims. Your landlord, the taxman, the purveyor of goods, they will all demand their due. But you must be your first creditor. Before the demands of the present devour your earnings, you must secure a portion for the future you. This is not mere saving, it is an act of profound self-respect, an acknowledgement that your future well-being is a non-negotiable priority. Imagine a merchant, his ships laden with exotic goods, his stalls overflowing in the marketplace. By all outward appearances, he was a man of considerable means, yet a shadow clung to him, a quiet desperation. For every ducat that flowed into his coffers, two seemed to flow out, chasing an ever-expanding horizon of desires. A larger house, finer silks, more lavish banquets, more servants to cater to whims that multiplied like flies in summer. His earnings were impressive, but his desires were a relentless, tyrannical master. He found himself in a gilded cage, working harder and harder not to build true wealth, but merely to sustain the escalating cost of his appetites. The more he earned, the more he craved, and the more he spent, becoming a slave to the very lifestyle his success afforded. He was running a race with no finish line, driven by the whip of more. True prosperity, he slowly began to understand, was not simply about the magnitude of one's income, but about the margin between that income and one's outgoings. Wealth is not what passes through your hands, but what remains in them, what you consciously choose to keep. The turning point came not with a windfall, but with a quiet moment of reckoning. He observed a humble craftsman, a man of modest income, yet content and secure, his small home paid for, his children provided for, a sense of peace radiating from him. The craftsman's secret was not in earning more, but in wanting less, or rather, in aligning his wants with his needs and his greater purpose. The merchant realized that the inability to say no to a new trinket, no to an unnecessary indulgence, no to the pressure of societal expectation, had made him a pauper in spirit despite his material possessions. The man who cannot say no is already a servant, no matter how much he earns. This ancient wisdom illuminates the second law. Your desires unchecked will expand to consume all available resources and then some. True financial freedom begins with an honest inventory of your needs versus your wants, and the courage to govern your spending with a firm hand. It is about mastering your impulses, distinguishing between the essential and the ephemeral, and understanding that every coin not spent on fleeting gratification is a coin that can be marshaled for a greater, more enduring purpose. Control your expenses, or they, and the desires that fuel them, will inevitably control you. There is an old story of a farmer who, through years of diligent labor, amassed a small hoard of gold coins. Fearing thieves and misfortune, he dug a deep hole in his field at dead of night and buried his treasure, his heart swelling with a sense of security. Each day, he would cease his tilling for a moment, walk to the secret spot, and gaze upon the disturbed earth, content that his wealth was safe. He worked his fields from dawn till dusk, his body aching, his spirit tethered to the endless cycle of toil, while his gold lay silent and unproductive beneath the soil, a sleeping giant. His neighbor, a man of lesser initial means but perhaps greater understanding, invested his smaller savings. He bought more fertile land, better seeds, stronger oxen. He hired help during harvest. His coins, though fewer, were active, constantly moving, generating more coins, more opportunities. The buried gold, in contrast, did nothing. It did not grow, it did not multiply, it did not ease the farmer's labor. It was a dead weight, a source of anxiety rather than a tool for advancement. The farmer worked for his sustenance, while his gold, which could have worked for him, slept. One day, a thief, observing the farmer's peculiar daily ritual, unearthed the gold and replaced it with a pile of stones. For weeks the farmer continued his visits, none the wiser, deriving the same satisfaction from gazing at the spot. When he finally discovered the theft, his despair was immense. But a wise man in the village asked him, "What difference does it make? When the gold was there, you did not use it. It was as stones to you then. You can gaze upon these stones now and imagine they are gold, and be no worse off in practical terms." The lesson was harsh, but clear. Wealth unused is wealth non-existent. Gold is timid. It will not grow unless sent out with purpose and guarded by wisdom. This is the essence of the third law. Money, like a diligent servant, must be given tasks. It must be invested, lent, or used to acquire assets that generate further income. To merely hoard it, to let it lie dormant, is to misunderstand its fundamental nature. Your labor alone will only take you so far. But when you put your accumulated capital to work, when each coin becomes a worker in its own right, then you begin to build a system where your wealth grows even while you rest. A force multiplying your efforts beyond the limits of your own time and energy. Consider the traveler, a man who, after years of careful saving and astute trading, had amassed a respectable fortune. He carried it with him, not in a literal sense, but in the form of sound investments and well-placed resources. As news of his prosperity spread, so too did the attention he attracted. One day in a bustling caravanserai, he was approached by a man of smooth words and dazzling promises. This stranger spoke of a venture in a distant land, a new mine yielding gems of unparalleled brilliance, promising returns that would dwarf the traveler's current wealth in a matter of months. The proposition was intoxicating, painting visions of effortless riches, of shortcuts to a life beyond imagining. The stranger's confidence was infectious, his projections seemingly flawless. The traveler, lulled by the allure of rapid, monumental gain, and perhaps a touch of greed he hadn't acknowledged, began to deviate from the prudent principles that had built his fortune. He liquidated a significant portion of his carefully cultivated assets, entrusting them to this charismatic purveyor of dreams, ignoring the faint whispers of caution from his own seasoned intuition. The promised land, of course, was a mirage. The investment vanished, along with the smooth-talking stranger. The traveler was left not only poorer in coin, but immeasurably poorer in spirit, the bitter taste of folly his constant companion. He learned through painful experience that wealth, once accumulated, becomes a magnet not only for opportunity but also for opportunists. The siren song of Too Good to Be True is a melody that has lured countless fortunes onto the rocks of ruin. Protecting your capital from ill-advised ventures, from the schemes of the unscrupulous, and from your own moments of impulsive desire for quick, unearned expansion, is as crucial as acquiring it in the first place. The wolf wears a suit now. He calls himself an opportunity. This stark warning encapsulates the fourth law. In ancient times, the threats to one's wealth might have been bandits on the road. Today they are more insidious, cloaked in legitimacy, armed with spreadsheets and persuasive rhetoric. They prey on your impatience, your desire for more, your fear of missing out. Therefore, exercise extreme caution. Seek wise counsel from those with proven experience and no vested interest in your decision. Scrutinize every proposal, especially those that promise extraordinary returns with little risk. Your diligence in safeguarding your wealth is the shield that preserves your hard-won gains. Picture an old man, sitting by a window, the twilight of his years mirroring the fading light outside. His life had been one of activity, of earning and spending, of experiencing the vibrant tapestry of the present moment. He had lived, as they say, for the day. But as the sun set on his physical strength and his ability to earn, a chilling realization dawned upon him. The future, once a distant, hazy concept, had arrived, and he had made scant provision for its inevitable demands. His youth was a gallery of vivid memories, but his old age was shaping up to be a stark canvas of dependency and want. He watched younger men and women, full of vigor, making the same choices he had made, prioritizing immediate gratification over long-term security, assuming that tomorrow would somehow take care of itself. He saw in their confident strides the echo of his own past recklessness. He remembered the opportunities he'd had to set aside a portion of his earnings, to invest in ventures that would mature over time, to build a bulwark against the lean years. But the allure of the present had always been too strong, the whispers of prudence too faint to heed. Now, regret was his constant companion, a heavy cloak woven from the threads of missed chances and unheeded wisdom. The weight of this regret was a debt far heavier than any monetary obligation. It was the debt of lost peace of mind, of dignity compromised, of becoming a burden where he might have been a benefactor. He saw others of his generation, those who had planned, who had sacrificed small pleasures in their youth for greater security in their age, living with a quiet contentment, their futures provided for, their independence intact. Their foresight had purchased them not just comfort, but freedom from the gnawing anxiety that now consumed his own later years. The young who prepare become old with grace. The young who spend become old with shame. This poignant truth is the heart of the fifth law. The future is not an abstract concept, it is a destination you are inexorably moving towards. To ignore its needs is to gamble with your well-being, your dignity, and your peace. Securing your future requires conscious effort, discipline, and the willingness to defer some gratification. It means making provisions for your non-earning years, for unforeseen adversities, and for the legacy you wish to leave. This is not an act of pessimism, but of profound realism and self-care, ensuring that your later chapters are written with security and serenity. There once was a carpenter, renowned throughout the land for his exceptional skill. He could craft exquisite furniture for the wealthy, build sturdy homes for merchants, and even contribute to the intricate woodwork of the king's palace. His hands transformed raw timber into objects of beauty and utility, and his reputation brought him consistent work. Yet, despite the castles he helped erect for others, the carpenter himself lived in a rented dwelling, a modest space owned by another. Each month, a portion of his hard-earned income went to secure a roof that was not truly his, a foundation upon which he could build no lasting equity. He was a master builder, yet he possessed no domain of his own. The irony was not lost on him, especially in quiet moments when the demands of his landlord, or the insecurity of his tenure, pricked at his peace of mind. He realized that while his skills provided him with a livelihood, his lack of ownership over his own shelter left him vulnerable, a transient in the landscape of his own life. The very security and stability he provided for others through his craft, he had failed to secure for himself. His peace was, in a sense, rented, subject to the whims and circumstances of another. This realization spurred him to action. He began to set aside funds, not just for daily needs or future uncertainties, but specifically for the purpose of acquiring his own plot of land, his own dwelling. It required sacrifice, redirecting resources from fleeting comforts to this singular, foundational goal. The process was slow, demanding patience and unwavering commitment. But the day he finally stood on soil that was his, before a home built by his own design and labor, the sense of peace and permanence was unlike anything he had ever known. He had laid his own foundation. If you build castles for kings but sleep on borrowed floors, your skill has betrayed you. This powerful statement underscores the sixth law. While foundation can mean many things, the principle of owning a secure base, whether a physical home or a stable core to your financial life, is paramount. To constantly pay for the use of something fundamental that you could own is to perpetually drain your resources and rent your peace of mind. Striving for ownership, for a stable platform from which to operate and grow, provides not just financial benefits like equity, but a profound psychological anchor, a sense of belonging and control that is essential for true, lasting well-being. Let us speak of a young man who inherited a considerable fortune from his industrious father. He received not just land and gold, but also a legacy of hard work he little understood. Lacking the wisdom to manage his newfound wealth and, honestly, eager to taste the pleasures it could afford, he quickly fell prey to his own ignorance and the counsel of flattering, self-serving companions. He invested in frivolous ventures, spent lavishly on fleeting amusements, and made decisions based on impulse rather than understanding. His knowledge of the world was shallow, his understanding of finance non-existent. The inheritance, which had taken a lifetime to build, was squandered in a remarkably short span. The lands were sold, the gold disappeared, and the once admiring companions vanished as swiftly as the money. He found himself impoverished, not just in material terms, but in the vital currency of knowledge and experience. He had possessed the means to live well, but lacked the wisdom to preserve and grow those means. His empty coffers were a stark reflection of an uncultivated mind, a mind that had failed to grasp the principles of stewardship and growth. In his destitution, a slow and painful understanding began to dawn. He realized that material wealth, without the wisdom to manage it, is like water held in a sieve. True, enduring value resides not just in what you have, but in what you know. The ability to learn, to adapt, to understand the principles that govern finance, business, and human nature. These are assets that cannot be so easily lost. He began the arduous journey of acquiring knowledge, of sharpening his intellect, of learning from his mistakes, and from the wisdom of others. The man who sharpens his mind increases his value without begging the world to pay him. This is the essence of the seventh law. Your mind is your greatest asset, a vault with an infinite capacity for storing the treasures of wisdom and understanding. Continuously investing in your knowledge, your skills, and your ability to think critically and make sound judgments is the most reliable path to increasing your intrinsic value. This inner wealth will not only help you acquire and manage material riches, but will also equip you to navigate all of life's complexities with greater competence and confidence, making you a creator of value in your own right. Imagine a humble seamstress, living in a small village, her earnings modest, derived from the meticulous labor of her needle and thread. Each week, after meeting her basic needs, she would take a single copper coin, a seemingly insignificant sum, and place it in an old earthen jar. To an outside observer, this act might seem trivial, almost pitiful. What could one copper coin, week after week, truly amount to? But the seamstress understood a principle that often eludes those who chase grand, immediate windfalls. She understood the quiet, inexorable power of accumulation and growth over time. As the jar filled, she didn't merely hoard the coins. Guided by the quiet counsel of a village elder who understood the ways of money, she learned to lend her small savings at modest interest to other trusted villagers for productive purposes, a farmer needing seed, a potter needing clay. Her few coins now working began to earn other coins. These earnings too were added to her growing capital. What began as a trickle became a small stream, then a steady flow. She was not just saving, she was cultivating her money, treating each coin as a seed capable of producing a harvest. Over decades, this practice, born of discipline and patience, transformed her circumstances. The single copper coins, diligently saved and wisely employed, grew into a sum that provided her with security in her old age, and even allowed her to help her children and grandchildren establish their own livelihoods. She hadn't discovered a hidden treasure or won a lottery. She had simply allowed the fundamental mathematics of growth to work in her favor. She had made each coin birth a lineage, a family of new coins that worked alongside the old. A single coin can become an empire if planted in discipline and watered with time. This profound truth reveals the eighth law, the law of compounding, the patient miracle of making your money generate offspring. It is the principle that small, consistent efforts, when sustained over long periods and combined with the reinvestment of earnings, can lead to astonishing results. It requires a vision that extends beyond immediate gratification, an understanding that true wealth is often built not in leaps and bounds, but through the steady, relentless accumulation and multiplication of resources, allowing time to be your greatest ally. Observe, if you will, two men working under the same sun. The first is a laborer, strong and diligent, who digs ditches from sunrise to sunset. For his day's work he receives a fixed wage, enough to provide for his immediate needs, a meal for his family, a roof for the night. His income is directly tied to the hours he toils. If he does not work, he does not eat. He exchanges his time and physical energy for sustenance. His contribution is vital, his effort commendable, but his earning potential is inherently limited by the hours in a day and the strength in his limbs. Now, the second man is a builder. He too works with his hands, but his focus extends beyond the immediate task. He envisions a structure, a system, something of lasting value. Maybe he is designing a more efficient irrigation system for the community's fields, crafting a unique tool that improves productivity, or organizing a cooperative that allows many artisans to reach a wider market. He is not just expending energy, he is applying creativity, ingenuity, and foresight to develop assets or systems that can generate value independently of his direct, hour-by-hour labor. The laborer earns his keep through sweat equity, a direct trade of effort for compensation. The builder, while also working hard, aims to create something that has intrinsic value, something that can be scaled, replicated, or that continues to provide benefits long after the initial effort is expended. He might create a product that can be sold many times, a service that meets an ongoing need, or an enterprise that employs others and generates profits. He is moving beyond simply trading time for money and into the realm of value creation. The laborer earns a meal. The builder earns a life. This distinction lies at the heart of the ninth law. While all honest labor has dignity, the path to enduring wealth often involves a shift in mindset from merely performing tasks to actively creating value. This means looking for opportunities to innovate, to solve problems, to build systems, or to develop intellectual property. It is about leveraging your unique talents and insights to produce something that the world values, thereby transcending the limitations of purely time-based earning and opening avenues for more substantial and sustainable prosperity. It's the difference between digging a hole and designing a well that quenches a village's thirst for generations. Consider for a moment the blacksmith, his workshop echoing with the rhythmic clang of hammer on anvil. Day after day, year after year, he follows the same process, heating the metal, shaping it with deliberate blows, quenching it, tempering it. There are days when the fire seems reluctant to burn, when his arm aches, when inspiration feels distant. There are days when the allure of idleness or distraction whispers seductively. But the blacksmith knows that the quality of his craft, the strength of the steel he forges, depends not on fleeting moments of high enthusiasm, but on the unwavering consistency of his practice. Motivation is a fickle friend, an unpredictable surge of energy that comes and goes like the tide. If the blacksmith only worked when he felt inspired, his output would be sporadic, his skill unrefined. But discipline, that is a different master. Discipline is the conscious decision to do what needs to be done, regardless of mood or inclination. It is the internal commitment to a process, the adherence to principles even when the immediate rewards are not apparent, or when the effort feels mundane. It is this relentless repetition that hones skill, builds resilience, and ultimately forges success. The ancient laws of wealth we have discussed are no different. Knowing them is but the first step. The true power lies in their consistent, unwavering application. Paying yourself first, controlling expenses, making your money work, protecting your assets, planning for the future. These are not actions to be taken only when you feel a burst of financial ambition. They are habits to be cultivated, disciplines to be ingrained into the very fabric of your financial life, repeated relentlessly, day in, day out, whether the economic sun shines brightly or storm clouds gather. The wealthy are not always the most intelligent, nor the most gifted. They are often the most consistent. This is the profound truth of the 10th law. Brilliance without discipline is like a flash of lightning, impressive but fleeting. It is the steady, unwavering application of sound principles repeated over time that builds enduring fortunes and lasting freedom. Motivation will get you started, but it is the bedrock of discipline that will see you through, transforming abstract knowledge into tangible, life-altering results. The rhythm of repetition is the drumbeat of prosperity. We have journeyed through 10 laws, ancient pillars that support the edifice of material prosperity. We've spoken of earning, saving, investing, and protecting. We've explored the wisdom of diligence and the power of foresight. And if you were to master these 10, you would undoubtedly find yourself in a position of financial strength, perhaps even what the world calls rich. But there is an 11th law, one rarely spoken aloud, often unwritten, yet it underpins and gives meaning to all the others. Without it, the pursuit of wealth can become a hollow victory, a gilded cage. This 11th law states plainly, gold is a tool, not a god, money is a means, not an end. The accumulation of riches for its own sake is a fool's errand, a path that often leads to an impoverished spirit, no matter how full the coffers. The true objective, the ultimate prize that these laws are designed to help you achieve, is not wealth itself, but freedom. Freedom from the gnawing anxiety of scarcity. Freedom to pursue your passions, to spend your precious time as you see fit. Freedom from the dictates of a job you despise or a life that feels inauthentic. Freedom to make choices based on your values, not your necessities. This freedom is a multifaceted jewel. It is the freedom of time, to be present with loved ones, to learn, to explore, to simply be. It is the freedom of choice, to say yes to opportunities that enrich your soul and no to those that diminish it. It is freedom from fear. The fear of unexpected illness, of economic downturns, of an insecure old age. Wealth, when understood correctly, is the key that unlocks these freedoms. But if the pursuit of the key becomes more important than the doors it can open, then you have lost your way. Wealth is the servant of those who remember what matters, and the captor of those who forget. This is the silent guiding principle of the 11th law. The purpose of mastering the other 10 laws is not to become a slave to money, endlessly chasing more, but to make money your slave, a diligent servant that helps you craft a life of purpose, meaning, and true liberty. Remember always what you are striving for. It is not the weight of gold in your hand, but the lightness of spirit that comes from knowing you are the master of your destiny, free to live fully and authentically. This is the ultimate wealth. These 10 laws, and the hidden 11th, the crucial compass guiding their application, are not secrets unearthed for the first time. They are reminders. They are ancient truths, whispered down through generations, carved into the bedrock of human experience, echoing louder than ever in our often distracted modern world. They speak of a path less traveled by the masses, a path of discipline, foresight, and profound understanding, leading not just to financial abundance, but to a richer, more deliberate existence. Do not seek riches merely to impress the blind, to acquire trinkets that glitter but hold no lasting worth, or to climb a societal ladder whose rungs are forged in vanity. Instead, seek the clarity that true financial independence can bring, the freedom to see the world and your place in it with unclouded eyes, to make choices rooted in authentic desire rather than compelled by necessity. This clarity is a treasure far more valuable than any material possession, for it allows you to discern what truly matters. Build slowly, deliberately, with the patience of the mountains and the persistence of the rivers. Live deliberately, with intention and purpose, savoring the journey as much as any destination. And never forget the wisdom that transcends all balance sheets. The richest man is not the one with the most treasure, but the one who is no longer begging for time. May you command your wealth, and in doing so, may you truly command your life, finding freedom in its most profound and liberating sense.